All right, let's go. All right. Hey, Morgan. And hey, Nora.
Hello.
Nora,
Hello.
welcome. Welcome to the show. She is officially part of the Save the Crew team now, right? She's on the leadership team. Beautiful. Hey, so, the book captures, I think, so many things. And, but there's no way the book can capture everything. There's, I don't know how many great stories must have been left out of the book and what kind of moments that were significant that now you look back and maybe could have said that, should have said that, maybe not. But what are some of those moments that you reflect back on that kind of blow your mind?
Well, there's, the most mind-bending thing of all was being on BBC World Service. We cover that in the book, but just there's no way for me to tell that story of just how insane it was, because I listened to that program every day. I mean, I listened to it every day from 8 to 10 a.m. before All Sides with Ann Fisher comes on WOSU. And so I'm sitting there on hold, and how it usually works when you're on a radio interview is, they'll call you, they'll say, hey, this is producer Jim Bob, and, thanks for being on, Wags and Elliott 96, 96, you'll laugh a little bit.
And you hear the radio, the live radio in the background, and kind of
on hold, and then you are listening to, the intro and their last couple commercials. They're in the break. With this one, so I talked to their producer, and they put me on hold. And because I listened to that show every day, I just kind of started looking at my phone. And I'm listening to it like I always do, and I kind of forgot that I was on hold. And then when you get patched in, there's this noise, and you catch up from their 3-second delay. And they were talking about the China trade war and tariffs or whatever, or something. Emmanuel Macron was pissed at Trump or whatever, and
something like that. Yeah.
And then they go, and now to Major League Soccer, and the club crew, we go to Morgan Hughes. I'm like, oh shit,
that's me.
I'm on hold. I forgot. And there's just there's a feeling in your head when it's almost like being on a building, 150,000 stories tall. When you look down and you go, that kind of vertigo feeling. When you're in front of that many people, you kind of get that tingly, kind of dizzy feeling for a second. I mean, it's what everyone kind of is terrified of when it comes to public speaking, right? Is being in front of people, and anything you say or do is going to be of record.
Yeah, and it was millions too, millions of people.
Hundreds of millions.
Hundreds of millions.
Yeah, and I just
almost the entire globe, almost 5 billion in total. I mean, it was a lot. Yeah.
Right, and so that was kind of. There's no way for me to accurately tell anyone. You did a good job, a really good job of telling the story. But that was just. There's no way to tell the story of the feeling, the tingly feeling in my head.
Can't imagine.
So another one, and this one is just kind of a story that I can't tell without kind of sounding self-absorbed, but it's true and it happened, and I'd like to talk about it since we're doing
this is the time.
Yeah. So my buddy Shrikant, crew fans know him as Shrek. If you listen to Aces Radio, if you've been a Tifo Sweat, if you've just been a crew fan in general, you know Shrek.
Yep.
He's from India, and he was, when all of the news broke, he was in Bangalore. So he was following things remotely, and he told me that one time, a few weeks into Save the Crew, he was at a party in, I can't even remember where, over in India, and he was wearing something, Save the Crew or Crew, and some guy came up to him and was like, oh, you like the Crew? And he's like, yeah, I like the Crew. Why, do you follow MLS? Thinking, what the hell, what are we talking about? And he's like, yeah, I'm a Real Salt Lake fan. Just blah, 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 blah. I've been following Save the Crew. Do you know Morgan Hughes? And, Shrek is one of my best friends in the world. He was in my wedding. And, we kind of always just, one of the things that all of our group does is, we kind of inflate our ego, oh, they call me the champion, rumor has it on the street that people over in India know about it. So for this to happen, he's like, there's no way I can tell you this without your head exploding. Rightly so. And it was just like, there are people in India talking about Save the Crew and asking people at parties if they know me.
Yeah.
How do you respond to that other than just going like, fuck off, I can't process that.
Yeah. That's awesome. Going back, go ahead.
I remember one lighthearted moment at, we met in the front room of at Endeavor Brewing Company, Save the Crew meetings. And I remember one time the front room was taken. And so we had to meet out on the porch, and we were all sitting out there, and a bird flew into the window. And it just kind of like died. And it fell on the ground, and it just immediately like ruined the meeting. Sarah Hall and I were just like not paying attention anymore. We were so worried about this bird. And we were talking about something like important. And then all of a sudden the bird came back to life and flew away. And it was like a giant celebration. And everyone on the team like had to like, hug and high five. And I think Donnie was leading the meeting, and he was just like, all right, everyone take a break, go get a beer, deal with the bird emotions, and we'll come back in 20 minutes.
Well, is that part of it's you're already raw, going through everything you're going through, right? So emotionally you're a little more tender maybe, but that's never a good sign when that sound when that happens. Going back to the BBC interview for a second, David Miller, who did so many great things with regard to media relations and third party, getting the media to talk and interview you and so forth. That without question was his number one, proudest moment. When he heard you on that radio, and I guess they were all listening, and I don't know if he said he started crying, but he said that was it, man. That was like, because he like many of you didn't expect necessarily or know that you were going to be on the stage to this degree and so forth. And he's a relatively young guy in the industry of communications and media relations. And what he contributed was so significant anyway, and it's such a feather in his cap already in terms of his career. But to arrange an interview or to facilitate an interview on the BBC, it's like, where do I go from here?
We've talked before, and it's in the book. I'm on record as saying it, that my number one rule of Save the Crew was never say no, answer every phone call, return every text, respond to every email. And that became a pain in the ass, man. Like, for instance, Sean Kelly, when he did, all three parts of his documentary, dude, I was in constant contact with this guy. He's a friend of mine. I don't mean this guy, doing interviews, verifying sources, sending him pictures, like all of the still shots in his documentaries are like pictures of my jerseys. And like, you'd be like, okay, I need, if you don't mind, I need you to go upstairs and take still shots of 5 different Crew jerseys. I'm like, okay, I just got home. I'm trying to eat, but I'll do that. So it was a big pain in the ass. I know everyone at Save the Crew was like, we keep getting questions about when the hell Sean's documentary is going to come out. Like, we don't know, but we're sitting for interviews with him all the time. It's a giant pain in the ass. The only reason that BBC World Service interview happened was because somebody in London saw Sean's trailer. We didn't commit all that time that we thought, oh, it's a pain in the ass. If we didn't all live that mantra of say yes to everything, return every call, on every email, reply to every text, never would have happened.
Yeah, what was it? It was the 2 guys that host a show, right?
Ball Street. I think
Ball Street, yeah. And they saw the documentary, and
Sean's like a big Liverpool fan. Those guys are like Liverpool journalists or something, and they're talking heads. I don't know. They did
it's on YouTube still. They did a 20-minute segment or something about it, and used a lot of
dude, in the middle of the day one time in 2017, I had to drive home from work in the middle of the day and sit in Sean's car with him while he talked to these guys on the speakerphone. And like, I answered like one question with like, yeah. And an hour and a half of that. And I was just like, what are we doing, man? And I was kind of pissed and just like, I just like sacrificed like 2 hours to go, yep. But it turned out.
It's kind of like the first time you met me. You probably wondered, what the hell is this all about? And I got this Friday afternoon at 5 o'clock, and
You know how many stupid men I've had to go have beers with?
this guy. Yeah, the Ball Street. I think I think it was a producer for BBC that saw them talking about it and was like, hey, this is a great story.
Without that, our reach is minus hundreds of millions of people.
Yeah.
Can you imagine, dude? Can you imagine the offices at Major League Soccer when that happened? That was one thing we always talked about. Was like anytime we got like huge press for something we did, they were just like, we were all like, can you imagine Don Garber and Mark Abbott and Dan Quartermanch and all these guys sitting on Madison Ave in Manhattan just going like, did MLS just get covered in front of 250 million people?
Yeah.
And was the message for a bunch of idiots? Like,
yeah. Imagine, somebody walking into Garber's office saying, did you hear what the Save the Crew guys did now?
Yeah.
Boy, they had no idea what they were in for, did they?
They did not, man, or they never would have. They never would have stepped.
Yeah. What's your favorite part of the book? Which one of your favorite when you read it? And reflected back, what was the one part maybe or a couple parts that really hit you in a good way?
October 12th, 2018. Just kind of. Dude, I'd say it to my wife all the time. October 12th, 2018 was the best day of my life.
Yeah.
And, I meant it then, and we had just gotten married like a couple, 3-4 months before that. And I say it now, I watched this one come into the world. It's still the best day of my life. And so that was the best part of the book to me is reliving that day. Because as a sports fan, the best thing that can happen to you, you think, is your team winning a championship. And then they start playing again the next season, and you have to go through it all again. You really only get like that one day. Yeah. We had that one day on October 12th. Okay, Nora, Jesus. We had that one day that we get to keep celebrating it. It's the championship that never ends, man. We start playing another season in a few months. They don't start a new season of the Crew of fighting to save the Crew. We won the ultimate championship. We always get to celebrate it.
There's only one championship.
Never dies, baby.
Yeah. Well, that last chapter was the title of the chapter is "The Day the Crew Was Saved," and it was my favorite part of the book to write. And I think really, thinking about the stages of grief you guys went through from the announcement, the Grant Wall treat, all the way through this unbounding joy. Mm-hmm. And the book takes people on that journey, and the crescendo obviously is the best possible ending. And my favorite picture in the book is the Zadar popping the champagne.
Erin Cronulla has that picture framed in her living room.
Oh, really?
I got to get that. I was.
Awesome. Well,
I think that's a sign that this portion of the interview should probably come to a close. Yeah, there it is.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. Hey, Nora, welcome to the team. She'll be reading now. This little girl will be reading this book someday.
I hope so, and I hope on that day, Pete, she smells less of baby vomit than she does right now.
You better go clean her up.
I'll give it a shot.
All right, buddy. Talk soon. See you.